I knew it was going to happen. It was inevitable. It's been inevitable for years.
In this form?
Yes. I mean, look, I've said in this particular studio time and again that we'll be using the wrong measurement of our indebtedness by using debt to GDP as against revenues to debt servicing requirements. It was clear that eventually Ghana would run into trouble because the servicing of the debt was taking up too much of our revenues. And that is why now we're having to resort to this situation. It was inevitable. I've said again that it was like a pyramid scheme, especially for the forex aspect of our domestic debt. We are taking money from Paul, a foreigner, and simply borrowing a large amount from Peter to pay off Paul plus his interest. Then you now go to John and take off a big amount to cover Paul's money plus the interest. It was like a pyramid scheme. And eventually we'll run into trouble because we were taking off too much of our revenues were going into the debt servicing. So, I mean, I've known for years that eventually we'll get to this stage.
So
it was inevitable. But you see, the thing is that, you see, politicians being who they are, this entire problem didn't start from this government. Let's be fair about this. It started right from immediately after we got to hippie completion point and we had a lot of debts written off and we started going to the international markets. All right, and we now opened out Citi-denominated bond market to foreigners. We had a situation where we knew we were going to get to a stage where we would not be able to, our markets would be closed to us because we're too indebted. But each government was like, I will take and please the electorate. It will not be on my watch that we'll get to this stage. That was the cynical approach every government took, including this incumbent administration. What went wrong with this incumbent administration was, and that's why they keep blaming COVID, was that COVID now accelerated the process. They thought this problem would arise in the government after them. They had done their maths and calculated that this problem would arrive at the government after them. Then COVID accelerated the process and we got to the unsustainability level before they left power. That was the fact that they thought they could hide part of the debt, you know, the energy legacy debt, the financial reform debt, and not make it part of our debt computations. But of course, with the IMF insisting that it was part, and I mean
and that pushed the debt to GDP ratio
pushed
to
it up
above 100%.
Yes, and with the IMF making it public that this was the real ratio. I mean, of course, the ratings agents and co, they would side with the IMF.
Yes.
Because I mean, for the simple reason that no matter how you classify your certain aspects of your public debt, you can call it a memorandum issue. You can call it whatever you want. The fact is that aspect of the debt also has to be financed.
So is it of course, I know the IMF will want to see that your debt is sustainable before they step in for a program.
Yeah.
Will this be government's own initiative of, you know, cleaning its house ahead of the IMF, or this was dictated by the IMF? Will you know?
It was government's. It had some prodding from the IMF, but this was government's own initiative. The IMF's position is that we cannot come in until you have shown us that your debt is sustainable. So what government now did was come up with a program that would now make the debt sustainable, which is what they have done here. Now they can now come to the IMF and say, look, this is what we have done. Our debt is now sustainable. So please now let's talk.
I see.